Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The recitation for today is Maj Mahalla Tija. Sabh Ghat Apey Bhoganhara, alakh vartay agam apara, gur ke sabd mera har prabh ਧਿਆਈਐ, ਸਹਜੇ ਸੱਚ ਸਮਾਵਣਿਆ, ਹਉ ਵਾਰੀ ਜੀਉ ਵਾਰੀ, ਗੁਰ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਮਨ ਵਸਾਵਣਿਆ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸੂਝੈ ਤਾਂ ਮਨ ਸਿਉ ਲੂਝੈ, ਮਨਸਾ ਮਾਰੇ ਸਮਾਵਣਿਆ ਰਹਾਉ, ਪੰਚ ਦੂਤ ਮੋਹਿ ਸੰਸਾਰਾ, ਮਨ ਮੁਖ ਅੰਧੇ ਸੁਧ ਨ ਸਾਰਾ, ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਹੋਵੈ ਸੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਘਰ ਰਾਖੈ, ਪੰਚ ਦੂਤ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪਛਾਵਣਿਆ, ਇਕ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸਦਾ ਸੱਚੇ ਰੰਗ ਰਾਤੇ, ਸਹਜੇ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਸੇਵਹਿ ਅੰਦਿਨ ਮਾਤੇ, ਮਿਲ ਪ੍ਰੀਤਮ ਸੱਚੇ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਵਹਿ, ਹਰ ਦਰ ਸੋਭਾ ਪਾਵਣਿਆ, ਏਕਮ ਏਕੈ ਆਪ ਉਪਾਇਆ, ਦੁਬਦਾ ਦੂਜਾ ਤ੍ਰਿਵਿਧ ਮਾਇਆ, ਚੌਥੀ ਪੌੜੀ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਉੱਚੀ, ਸੱਚੋ ਸੱਚ ਕਮਾਵਣਿਆ, ਸਭ ਹੈ ਸੱਚਾ ਜੇ ਸੱਚੇ ਭਾਵੈ, ਜਿਨ ਸਚ ਜਾਤਾ ਸੋ ਸਹਿਜ ਸਮਾਵੈ, ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਕਰਨੀ ਸੱਚੇ ਸੇਵੈ, ਸਾਚੇ ਜਾਏ ਸਮਾਵਣਿਆ, ਸੱਚੇ ਬਾਝੋਂ ਕੋ ਅਵਰ ਨ ਦੂਆ, ਦੂਜੇ ਲਾਗ ਜਗ ਖਪ ਖਪ ਮੂਆ, ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਹੋਵੈ ਸੋ ਏਕੋ ਜਾਣੈ, ਏਕੋ ਸੇਵ ਸੁਖ ਪਾਵਣਿਆ, ਜੀ ਜੰਤ ਸਭ ਸਰਨ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ, ਆਪੇ ਤਰ ਦੇਖੈ ਕੱਚੀ ਪੱਕੀ ਸਾਰੀ, ਅੰਦਿਨ ਆਪੇ ਕਾਰ ਕਰਾਏ, ਆਪੇ ਮੇਲ ਮਿਲਾਵਣਿਆ, ਤੂੰ ਆਪੇ ਮੇਲਹਿ ਵੇਖਹਿ ਧਦੂਰ, ਸਭ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਰਹਿਆ ਭਰਪੂਰ, ਨਾਨਕ ਆਪੇ ਆਪ ਵਰਤੈ, ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸੋਜੀ ਪਾਵਣਿਆ. Composed in Rag Maj by the third Nanak, Guru Amar Das, this passage tells us that Sabh Ghat Apey Bhoganhara, the self, is in all bodies and is in fact the giver of sense enjoyment. Sabh Ghat Apey Bhoganhara, alakh vartay agam apara. So, it actually pervades everything and yet is without any sign, because it is subtle, alakh, and unfathomable, agam. But it makes things happen. Varta, it operates in its infinite domain, apara. Through the word of the enlightener, this is the instruction to us. Gur ke sabad, through or by the word of the enlightener, draw attention to the eternal wisdom of the self, which is Prabh, and take that attention to the indwelling Har self within. That's how you harmonize with the truth. Seje Sach Samavaniya. And in the Rahao section, the Guru says, salutations to those whose heart the enlightener has come to abide. How vari jiyo vari, gur sabad man vasavanya, to abide in, vasna, to establish itself. So where the discourse of the gur, the shabad, has actually found its home, where it's established. And it is only through the discerning gur wisdom that the mind can be tackled. Sabad suje tam man syo luje. And then the ego dissolves. Mansa mar samavane. So that's the process. You first have to absorb, imbibe the message of the sabad. Sabad anything that can be heard with the ears, although there is Anahad Sabad, which is transcendental, but here we are dealing with Gur Sabad, meaning the instruction of the Guru, the Bani of the Guru, the utterance of the Guru. So first, hear the Guru and then absorb the message. Once you absorb the message, you will have the information to tackle the ego, to dissolve it, or to transform it, if you prefer that word. And once that is done, then the mind is tackled. And how does this happen? The Guru tells us, when Maya, the agency of the Supreme, Manmukh ande Sudana Sara Gurmukh hove so apna kar rakhe panch doot sabat pachhamneya panch doot mohe sansara. When Maya, which is the agency of the Supreme, that is to say, the phenomenal world that we live in, the world where nothing is permanent, the world where everything changes, arises and ceases, that is Maya. It has a mesmerizing hold on us, on our minds. And so those who are clueless, meaning those who do not have the instruction of the Guru, are always caught unawares. Panchadut mohe sansara. Only when you are Gur guided, when you become a Gurmukh, that is, you start to use the Sabad as your compass, are you able to then see through the spell of Maya and protect yourself from this delusion of the ego. So once you acquire and imbibe Gur Sabad, you then gradually become saturated with self-knowledge. You become intoxicated. Sahaje prabh seve andin mate. Mate is to be absorbed, to be intoxicated in the self. Sahaje, with natural ease, spontaneously. So there is a process at work here which suggests that as you gradually absorb the teachings of the Guru, the Sabad, you then simultaneously become absorbed in the self. So it's a simultaneous process. You absorb Guru wisdom and you gradually become more absorbed and centered. It's just another way of saying you become more centered in the mind. And the consciousness expands to where it takes you to the door, it says. Sache dar, har dar, sache dar, soba pavanya. Well, because the mind is now illuminated, because the mind is now seeking its self, once it gets to the threshold, that is what is called har dar. Dar is a doorway or a threshold, meaning this is poetic language. It's saying at the threshold where the union takes place, meaning when you take the mind to a higher level, to a higher dimension of consciousness, then the mind looks splendid and resplendent there. Harsoba Pavanya. So again, ekam eka aap upaya, dubada duja tribid maya, chauthi paudi gurmukh uchi, sacho sach kamavanya. A bit of a reiteration of what we have just said. First, the transcendent self manifests the self. You have to understand this process as well. The creator self manifests from itself many jivs, so to speak, the self that we are talking about, the self within. It creates infinite number of selves, and then it manifests separation that is to say, the world, changing world of phenomena, with its three qualities: inertia, motion, and space. So that is how the Jeev, or the being, the sentient being, comes to be housed in the world of phenomena. But the Gurmukh, Chauthi Pauri, Gurmukh, Uchi Sacho Sach Kamavanaya, it is the Gurmukh who finds and transcends the three planes of Maya: inertia, motion, space, or the three guns, if you will, the aggregation of forces within Maya that influence us one way or the other. We all have these aggregations, these qualities within us in different proportions, and that kind of determines the sort of mind bent we have. But the Gurmukh transcends those, because he's transcending the world of time and space. Sabh hai sache jis sache pave. All actions are right, provided they are attuned to Hukam. Those who are in harmony with Hukam are blissful. Jin sach jata, so sahaj samavya. Liberating are the actions of the Gurmukh, the Gur-guided. Why? Because they are in tune with Hukam. Gurmukh karani, sache sevya, sache jai samavane. There is no other way to freedom from bondage to the world of phenomena, than to follow Hukam. Many have perished in vain by following false ideas. Duje lag jag khapa khapa mua. For the Gurmukh, or the Gur-guided, knows only the self as the guide, and serving the self finds freedom. All creatures and beings are under your care, the Guru says, addressing the Creator. Ji jant sab saran tumhari. You place them in their allotted places and then watch their maturation. Ape tar dekhe kachi pakki sari. This is a reference to the game of chopper that we will talk about very briefly. And you cause them to act, and you cause them to mind their way back. Andin ape kare karai ape mel milavanya. And in conclusion, says Nanak, to the Gurmukh is given the discernment of your omnipresence. Sab mein aap reha bharpure. This is a discernment, a perception that is given to the Gurmukh because of the knowledge that he or she acquires through Gur Sabad. You are the one, it says, who brings about the union. Tu ape mile veke hadu. So we want to talk a little about the metaphor of the game of chopper. This is an ancient Indian game, and it is a board game, hosts pieces of 4 players who play in 2 partnerships, and each player has 4 pieces. The pieces begin at fixed positions around the board, which consists of 2 cloth strips crossing at right angles, creating 4 segments. And each piece races around the board. Its movement is dictated by the throw of a dice, and the idea is to finish at the center. So in this Shabad, the Guru likens our existence to the pieces, sari, they're called sari, who move as Hukam dictates, pasa, talya, because the throw of the dice is pasa, talya. And to reach the center, which is here ourself, one has to avoid being captured and by the enemies. And the enemies in our lives are vices, the 5 evils, the temptations and the allure of temporal existence. That's what you have to get past. And this is a maturation process. Those who mature in this process are called pakke, ripe, to be plucked and delivered home. while the immature, kache, need more time to process. On that note, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.